Hello there, good morning. Well, I'm surrounded by all the main tourist attractions. I've got HMS Belfast next to me, the Tower of London, further up the river we've got the London Eye, but I have to say it is very quiet at the moment. And I wanted to find out how these rail strikes are impacting people who are involved within the tourism sector. And I'm joined by Val Blackburn, who is one of the tour directors for Brit Movie Tours. So she does these fabulous tours going around London, walking tours for people who are really interested in movies and want to see iconic movie locations. Now, Val, firstly, how has business been this week with all the rail strikes?
It has been difficult. So we're still going, so that's a positive, but it's not helped.
Okay, and just tell me, how does it work? Because you've obviously got guides who are out doing, I mean, you've got some fabulous locations, whether it's Paddington, James Bond, but I mean, how does it work if people can't come to one of the tours? I mean, how does that impact the guides themselves?
Well, if we don't have the customers, if the customers can't get to the tour can't run. And if the tour can't run, then people don't get work. So if we've got for a vehicle tour, for example, today, we were supposed to be doing a Gavin and Stacey tour over in Cardiff. Only people can't get there. So this, of course, has an expense when you have to put on a tour. So we had people cancel when it turned out they couldn't get there today, which meant that we then had to get in touch with the transport company, and they had to lose their booking of the transport. The guide has to lose their job for the day. If they'd known they could potentially book something else to do, it's just another thing that we're facing.
So the tour guides lose money through this, and then what's the kind of knock-on impact in terms of, I mean, we're all still trying to get out of COVID. I mean, presumably you've got a backlog of customers who weren't able to make their tours during lockdown.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you had people who are booking their holidays in 2019, they'd have booked something for 2020, so they'd have booked their flights and their hotels. Let's go to see this show, let's go on this tour. So the money for that was received in 2019, and they were supposed to do it in 2020, but they couldn't. And then finally this summer, they're back. And now this happens. So some people are still rescheduling and rebooking. So the tours don't all have fresh new customers in. We're still working on the backlog. So we really need as many tours to go out as possible in order to try and get back on track.
And how are you having to sort of pivot as a company? Because I know you offer private tours of London and in sort of black cabs, so you can kind of go around not just London but other parts of the country as well for different tours. I mean, presumably they're quite popular today because they're not impacted by the train strike.
Yeah, this week we've really seen a difference in that. So don't you just love that can-do attitude of we can't get there any other way, we want to do this, you're all psyched up to do it, let's find a way. And the black taxis provide that. And of course it's lovely because you get your own private guide, you've got your own taxi, and you get literally taxied around.
Okay, so that's good news. But I mean, as we were saying earlier, I mean, these strikes haven't been resolved yet. I mean, we've got further news of sort of BA strikes. I mean, sort of looking ahead, does that make it quite difficult for your business?
It really does, because people are nervous about booking because they don't know if they're going to potentially be able to do it. They might book it thinking, oh, we'll cancel at the last minute, but that of course means that we think that we're going to be able to do tours and give people work, and then at the last minute people go, no, not coming, and you go, okay, and you have to cancel that. And of course, if the guides had known this, they might have booked a scooter tour that day or said, no, I will guide in a museum that day. They'd have picked something else to do. So it's, as a company, we obviously lose the revenue from the tour, and the guides, they lose the work, and the transport companies, they lose the gig, and it's a knock-on effect.
Now, before you go, just a quick question. We're obviously standing at the most brilliant location right in the centre of London. Point to me to one area that has been used in a film where we can see, so people can see it on one of your tours.
Oh, well, it's got to be the bridge, hasn't it?
Tower Bridge. Which films have we seen Tower Bridge in? I mean, I'm thinking Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible. Yeah, they filmed just down here in front of the tower. One of my favourites, The Muppets. The Muppets came here. Thousands of fans tried to see Kermit as he was like James Bond breaking into the tower. We saw it years ago in The Mummy 2 when the bridge opened up in order to stop the getaway. Paddington 2, running across the top of the bridge. You also have in Paddington 2 the Shard.
There you go. Well, look, thank you so much, Val, for joining me. There you go. A few of the wonderful locations that we've seen in London in the movies. But sadly, as we're hearing from Val there's obviously been a huge impact on tourism in London because of these rail strikes.